Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day wherever you are around the world. Welcome to our special program. Once again, we're here to have a very insightful discussion, have a very healthy exchange of ideas on how we're going to move our continent, Africa, forward, and Nigeria is going to be used as a case study today. We're going to be talking about the coronavirus, and we're going to be talking about how the government should properly approach it, because we can see from every quarter of the nation, Nigeria speaking now, and Africa at large, most of the countries, the reaction from the government has not been the best. So we have somebody from Nigeria today who is going to be talking to us about what he thinks the government should do better. Now, I'm Joshua Amatare coming to you live from Kyiv. Please share this link with your friends, share it on your wall, because we don't know who might be listening. We're going to be talking to leaders in Nigeria today. We're going to be talking to people who have access to power and who have some influence. So we might be able to share some ideas with them that will make the lives of, if it's tens or thousands or millions of people, better. Because we're all about the improvement and the betterment of our nation. And I believe that at the end of today's session, we would have exchanged and put forth some very, very good and tangible ideas that will make us a better people and will make Nigeria and Africa a better place for everyone to live. And I believe it will also save a lot of lives, because right now the coronavirus is ravaging through nations, and we've been blessed in Africa not to have as many casualties as those in the West. But that can quickly change if we don't take the necessary precautions. So today our topic is going to be how the Nigerian government can deal with the coronavirus. Now, no matter what African country you come from, you can just swap out the name Nigeria with your own nation. And these are principles that you can also apply that would make for a better handling of the situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me all the way from Nigeria, Victor OYELADE. Hello, Victor. Good evening.
Hello, Joshua. It's nice being here. Thank you for having me.
It's good having you around.
Thank you very
It's
much.
not often that we have young people on here who are willing to challenge the status quo and talk to the government and really procure solutions as to how things should be done. Now, we have a lot of people who just complain. We don't have a lot of people who have solutions. So it's good to have you here with us. So can you just give us a brief history of what you do and how you came to become passionate about issues concerning the nation, concerning the culture, and concerning Nigerians as a whole?
First of all, I want to appreciate you for having me on the show. It's a great privilege. And to answer your question, I think one of the things that really made me concerned about the well-being of society is due to my background in public health.
All right.
Yes, I have an MPH that I completed last year in Ibadan.
Okay.
As Masters in Public Health. So, and I also have a stint for journalism in me.
Okay.
So I do more communications and freelance journalism, more public health reporting at the moment, and that's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got interested in social issues when you started studying about public health.
That's very correct. Yes.
Fantastic. But there are a lot of people who I'm sure you were in class with who did public health, but not many of them are doing the things that you're doing. So what made the difference? What has made you different from the rest of your peers? Or do you have many people who did public health like you who are doing the exact same thing you're doing?
Well, I think it's all about coming to recognize potentials.
All right.
For me, I know that I love writing. I love communications. I love anything that has to do with reporting.
All right.
So at some point I was wondering what was I doing in sciences. Later in my career. So, but I sat down and I felt, okay, now I'm in sciences. Where can I really fit in perfectly? With my writing and public speaking skills and all that. So I opted for communications. So there's an aspect of public health or non-profit that has to do with corporate communications. And that's basically what I do at the moment. So for me, it was all about sitting down, seeing the abilities that I have, and making the best of it.
That's great. I believe that those of you who are listening can see how you can just convert what it is that you feel on the inside into a career path. Now, he's writing, and I believe you have some articles that have been published in major newspapers and outlets in Nigeria. Am I correct?
That's true. That's true.
Great. So those of you who are listening to us, if you have one or two ills that you feel towards Nigeria, you have one or two problems that you feel need to be solved, instead of just complaining, begin to proffer solutions, begin to write articles, begin to publish pieces online that would help to further the discourse and make for a better and a more civilized society. Because that's exactly what Victor here has been doing. And currently, what do you do? I believe you work with somebody in the African Union, right?
Yes, I serve as communications volunteer with the Office of Leader Boy. And that's Miss Ayachebe's office. So
Miss who?
that's what I do at the Miss Ayachebe.
All right. So she's part of the
so,
African Union and she's in charge of the youth development. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Fantastic. I can see that you're very well engaged and you're looking to get your foot in the door to make sure that the best ideas and the best solutions are preferred to Nigeria's problem. So what has been the reaction of Nigerians during this COVID-19 period, and due to this massive change that the country has seen? What has been the reaction of an average Nigerian in the country?
I like the fact that you say average Nigerian. You know, because when we're judging with Lagos and Abuja, I don't think it's a perfect picture of what the average Nigerians look like. You know, so I live in Ibadan, and I can tell you that for the most, parts of Ibadan where people stay, a lot of people are they are cracking a joke out of COVID-19. They don't really see the reality in everything they say. You know, we're happy that Lagos is responding well. Some other states who are following suit, but there has to be a mass baptism of, passing across information of to people about what is really going on. You know? So a lot of people, grassroots level, go to markets, they're just making a joke out of it. And so that's where we really have to do the work. So at the moment, I won't say we're having the best response as a citizen to COVID-19.
All right, so right now we're not having the best reaction, and the quarantine so far, or the quarantine, Nigerians have not been able to abide by it because many of them have to feed, am I correct? So some of them go about their businesses and they leave the house every morning to go look for a way to make a living, right?
That's true.
Okay, so what are the problems that you've seen so far, and what are the solutions that you think can be preferred? Now, you said you're from Ibadan and you have quite a very progressive governor. So is there anything he's doing different from the rest of the nation? Let's start with your governor. What exactly do you think he's doing in Ibadan that is working, that can be replicated in every other part of the nation?
Thank you for the adjective progressive governor. He's really trying his best, and except we'll be unfair, we have to really salute his efforts. So, but I think first of all, one thing that sets out Governor Makinde of Oyo State from, I don't belong to this specific party. I'm just saying this from an observer's view. But I think one thing that separates him from many others, as far as this challenge is concerned, is the ability to communicate and resonate with these people. You can literally see people being moved to the point of tears when they listen to this man. I live in Ibadan, so I can say firsthand. Given the fact that he also came down, thank God he's recovered. Given the fact that he also came down with COVID-19, brought some kind of emotion to whatever he had to say. Even in isolation, he was always speaking over the radio. The presenter puts a call through, and then he was always speaking over the radio virtually every day. So I think first of all there has to be that connect between our leaders, and I think that's what is lacking at the federal level.
All right.
I salute the efforts of the government. We won't say they are not doing enough. That would be unfair. They are not doing something. That would be unfair. But we are saying that it has to resonate with the people. When people have a different perception and a different belief as to the motives behind what you are doing, then you have a really big challenge. Even if you do what no one else will do, they won't see it on the line of sincerity, and I think that's where the challenge is.
All right. So the first thing that we are pointing or you're calling an attention to is communication. Now, you said your governor, did he have the virus or was he just quarantined for test?
Upon the diagnosis of a few officials in Oyo State,
okay,
for COVID-19, so he decided to, according to what he told people, so he decided to proceed with the test on his own. He wasn't. He was already.
Just a
He was
precautionary
asymptomatic.
thing.
Yes, he was asymptomatic at the time.
Okay, all right. So
So
fantastic. So you're saying that communication is key, and you say when people listen to him, they can feel his love, his empathy, and his connection with them to the point that they even want to, you know, break down in tears. Now that's something that is very unique because we don't have a lot of Nigerian speakers who can speak on that level. So I believe that those who are listening, those who want to be leaders tomorrow, those who are currently in office, they have to be able to communicate with the average Joe or the average man in Nigeria and woman and come down to their level in such a way that they will be able to understand what it is that is being said. And they also have to show a level of, you know, empathy with the fact that, you know, they might be elites, but these people are not. Most of these people are poor, middle class, you know. So they need to feel that the person who is talking to them feels what they are going through and really genuinely cares and is not just doing it for political gain. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, fantastic. So communication is key. And like you said, on the federal level, it's not been the best. And we hope that going forward, maybe some of that will change. Because if you look at other nations, you will see that there is communication. For example, in the US, every day there's a press conference of about 2 hours where they talk about the issues of the day and how things have been broken down. So President Trump and his team are always there. The doctors are there to answer questions. Those in the military are there to answer questions, the National Guard and all of that. So that is something that can be replicated. And I noticed that the guy in Ghana as well, the president of Ghana, does something similar to that. So I believe that that's something that Nigeria can adopt and our leaders can do better in terms of communicating their message and, you know, making people understand and bringing them along as this issue unfolds. All right. So I believe we've done justice to communication. So what's the next point that you think can be done to make this issue a little more, you know, that can make the issue better than it is right now?
And I think I would like to also talk about welfareism.
All right.
For me, it's like we're at war.
Okay, what did you call that again? Welfareism?
Yes, welfareism.
All right, welfareism. All right, go ahead, please.
And for me, it's like we're at war.
Okay.
And even though you don't see guns and arms and all that, our very first line of defense are the healthcare workers.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but it's amazing that while, like I said, like I reiterated initially, well, I'm not. We shouldn't be too critical, you know, about what the government is doing because we know that it will really be a very, very huge body, you know, providing solutions to the challenges we have at the moment. So, but the truth is, when it comes to welfare, it's our first line of defense. I mean, the healthcare workers themselves will be very, very poor. I mean, I was seeing. I'm not sure you saw the video. I was seeing the video. You know, the speaker, while the speaker was asking, I think the Honorable Minister of Health, and you know, and I think his vice or something.
Yes.
And he was asking them about hazard allowance, and I was shocked that the minister would say he doesn't know. You know, I mean, these are your first line of defense for any kind of viral disease or pandemic or whatever. You know, and you literally don't. It looks like, even though you might say you are okay doing some things, you have them at that, but the body language looks like you don't you don't really care about how they feel and all that. You know, so and it could have a serious you know, consequence on their morale. So I think, but of course, the deed is done already. But I would say maybe where we can come in is maybe the challenge that the FD is looking at is, you know, maybe there are no funds. We are battling recession at the moment and all that. But at least you could start with a promise of tax cuts from next year. You know, for every healthcare worker, in a way, you boosted their morale, and you haven't necessarily spent $1 at the moment. You know, so and of course, we are sure you are going to do that. You know, so I'm saying that we need to really, as a country, as a whole, we need to really improve on our welfareism, especially for our healthcare workers.
All right. I think that's a very good point, and I really hope that those who are listening to us are sharing these videos so that, you know, it can get to the appropriate people who would be able to effect some of these changes. Because I saw what the video you talked about, and they were asking the guy who is supposed to be in charge of the general, you know, reaction to the coronavirus, and he said he doesn't know how much, you know, hazard pay that the workers or the nurses are going to get. And you're right. These guys are the soldiers at the forefront right now. This is not a battle that can be won with guns or with bombs or with military strategy and things like that. The doctors and the nurses and the medical practitioners are the ones at the very forefront, and we really need them to deliver, and we don't need their morale to be low, thinking about how they're going to take care of themselves after this crisis, or if they're going to be able to afford, to get things in place financially and stuff like that. So we really hope that the Nigerian government will step up and give these guys a little more financial incentives. Like you said, a tax cut will really help to make them feel, appreciated, boosting their morale and making them to be, people that would be energized, knowing that their nation cares for them and is looking after their interests, since they are the ones who are currently on the front lines of this war. And like you said, it's really war. It's not this because lives have been lost, the entire country is shut down, and it's almost like there are bombs being thrown, even if there are none really, but we could actually call this a war. What has been your experience with Pastor Sunday's materials so far? I believe that you've been able to go through some of his material. So what kind of influence has that had on your way of thinking? Because you're not like a normal Nigerian who just complains. You have solutions. So how exactly has his influence helped you to get to this point?
Well, without a shadow of doubt. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Without a shadow of doubt, I've read, especially Church Shift.
All right.
Church Shift, and I mean that really, I read it, I think some 7 years ago, thereabout.
Okay.
And I think that really resonated with me because I've always been a fan of Christianity or the religiosity that reflects on society. Mm-hmm. So I think he's one person who represents that. I mean, that reflects positively on society. If you look at the heroes we preach, I mean, you look at Daniel and the likes and all of them, they had one contribution or the other that you could trace to their societies. I mean, Nehemiah, so for me that's something that really resonated, and I appreciate his efforts in that regard. And
fantastic. So Church Shift was your first encounter with him, is that correct?
Yes, and for me, that's very correct, yes. And for me, I am more of a meditative reader.
All right.
I remember reading that book repeatedly. I have lost count. Up until a certain point when I felt okay, I digested quite enough. So I really have been blessed by this material, and of course social media too.
All right.
I follow.
Good. Church Shift is one of my favorite books as well. I think for me it's a revolutionary book in the way that it's written because of how targeted it is towards the church. And it's good that you're a meditative reader, because a lot of people just read for head knowledge. Not many people meditate and try to make the words that they hear, come alive and become actions through them. So it's now clear that you're not just a religious person, but you're somebody who is looking to provide solutions to society instead of just reading another book. Because trust me, I've seen a lot of people who read books, religious books per se, but they're not able to do anything with it. So those of you who are listening to us today, I hope every book you read, you can meditate on it and not just, have it as one of the books on your shelf, or just so you can say, I've read that book. But let's bring about actions. Let's put plans in place. Let's put strategies in place from the lessons that we learned. Because I think that's one of Pastor Sunday's most strategic books, because he talks about how he started from nothing, how he was able to create a movement and bring about change in Ukraine as a nation, which was a foreign place, which was a communist land, which was a place, in fact, whose language he didn't speak initially. But he was able to move the situation from where it was to a better place for the people of this land. And, that's a typical example of what a national transformer is about. So that's good to know that you were able to, key into those lessons, and I believe it has helped to inform the way you are right now. So can you give us the next point? After welfareism, what's the next point that you think the Nigerian government can work on?
Yes, I think the next point we can improve upon as a nation is structure. I mean, there is practically, the structure on ground is very weak. I feel LCDC should be the coordinating centers, not state ministries of health operating in silos, and the whole thing looks uncoordinated. So and I
So
think
you mean from the grassroots, the structure is not good enough?
from from the federal level trickling down to the grassroots.
All right.
Because if we are going to manage COVID-19 effectively, then there has to be. I'll give you an example of what I mean by structure. I did a simple check on Play Store to see if NCDC has an app.
All right.
Like I mean an information center sort of app, like a simple, basic, which typically takes about 1 month at most, to build, to set up. And I was shocked that there was no NCDC app. Everything there's always referral to the website, and because structures like you find maybe you find the state ministry of that saying something, and at the moment you find it's not really in perfect sync with what NCDC is saying at the moment. So I think
there's a disconnect from the local and the federal level. Is that right?
Exactly. There has to be an improvement. I mean, talking about health-wise, like the health ministry, there has to be an improved coordination. It looks like some people are not being carried along, while others know too much and all that. So there has to be a sort of sync. Because one thing we have to realize is, look at it. Just before there was a COVID-19 pandemic globally, there were nations that were practically sort of threatening other nations. There were threats of wars all around and everything. All of that got silenced once COVID-19 shows up. And that tells you what kind of thing we are dealing with. So we have to put away every sort of reservation, every sort of friction, every sort of whatever you call it. There has to be an effective,
coherent effort.
Yes, coherent. And I would like to add to this. There has been a challenge of fake news initially. I think now people are getting more serious. So even those who commercialize fake news, who pass across fake information, are sort of getting scared now. So it's been reduced. But the truth is, I think one way we can reduce fake news, is let NCDC create an app, like a sort of an information center. The apps they have now, if you check on Google, are survey apps. Apps that the average Nigerian can interact with. Apps that will have icons, that will have links to resources from the individual state ministries of health. I checked for CDC. CDC has something like this. Center for Disease Control in the USA. So I think doing this and some other the basic is just structure. There has to be an improved structure. I believe this is just an eye opener. And I'm sure we'll do well, with COVID-19. But this tells us that, going forward, we have a lot to do with structure.
All right, fantastic. So structure is something that needs to be worked on, and it kind of hinges on your first point, which was communication. And you're right. I believe that applications and on people's cell phones will go a long way to inform them. But then, my challenge is, only 20% of the Nigerian population make use of cell phones currently. So that means that there's an 80% that they are not reaching. So do you mean that even through the radio, for example, I believe the radio is the most widely, spread or the most common used medium for transmitting information. So do you mean even on the radio, there is no information coming from the federal and the state level as to how people should do things?
There has been information, but a lot of time, these information don't agree.
All right.
At the very point in time, you need them to agree.
Okay.
It could be that somebody is saying, okay, we made a mistake reporting this yesterday. This is the current data, and all that. So what I'm saying is, when you have an app, for instance, the radio man has that app. The person in the market has that app. Those people that have the app, they know one or two persons who necessarily don't use phones and smartphones and all that. And at least there could be. So I'm saying that we could start from there. We are not saying that would, zero all the challenges on ground. We are just saying that we could at least start from there.
All right.
As it stands for now, there's a lot of coordination that we need to work on.
But normally there is the news that they have. I've not been in Nigeria for a while, but I remember we used to have like the national news at specific times of the day. Is that correct? Have they stopped having that on the radio?
Radio Nigeria, NTA, and the likes. Yes, I believe they are still they still happen, but the challenge is that not so many Nigerians watch some of these stations.
Oh, okay.
Because things have improved. Like for me, it's been a long. I think the last time I saw NTA news was when the president spoke to us, when he gave his speech.
Okay.
So
yeah, but you're a new generation, man. I'm talking about the average folks. 80% of them, the poor in the villages and in the suburbs and in the local governments.
Of course, the radios too will work well. So
Yeah, I believe that the radio is the best way to get the information to the grassroots, like you said, because most of these people don't have light for televisions. They don't have cell phones. Those who even do, I'm not sure they know how to download apps because they don't have internet services. But if they come to them through the radio at a specific time, I believe it will help to inform them and really make them know what's going on and how to handle situations. What do you think?
Yes, we can complement with that, but I would like to remind you of the fact that COVID-19 didn't start with the classroom. It was a challenge that started with the elites of society. I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying we leave the grassroots out of the equation. We are just saying that we initially have to consolidate. It has to be we have to consolidate on the structure very profoundly. Because sometimes, for instance, I listen to more of I think the radio stations we have in Ibadan. And so if how do you get the NCDC to ensure that what the radio station that is relaying in Ibadan is not conflicting with what is being relayed in Zamfara State, at the same time. So of course we have to employ all of this medium. We have to employ the fact that they've been doing a great job with the website and social media too. But Twitter alone is not. I don't think you can coordinate activities
from Twitter
alone. Yes, you can't. Because when you go online, Twitter is, I think, looks to me like the fastest, the most, as it stands now, the most efficient updates channel for ICTC and health authorities. So I'm just saying that you can't consolidate on, as you are seeing that, as that is coming out, you see somebody else replicating that, falsifying information and all that. So we are saying, when you are talking about apps, it's easier to translate. Using some of these. So I'm not saying that we limit it to apps. We are saying that let there be a coordination. Even if you don't set up for apps, let's be more coordinated.
All right, good. So I hope that those who are listening would set a more coherent structure in the communication to make sure that from top to bottom the message is uniform and everybody is on the same page and the entire nation is going in one direction when it comes to the approach that is being taken to make sure that nobody or we don't lose more people to COVID-19 or more people don't get infected. And for those who are even infected and have symptoms, they should be able to know where to go to so that they can get tests and things like that. Just the general information that is needed. There should be a better structure of communication that should be established so that we'll be a more informed nation. So those of you who are listening, please share this video with your friends and share it on your wall and send it to people who you think would be able to bring about these changes on the state level, on the local level, and even on the federal level. Because these are problems that everyday Nigerians are facing, and this is like a voice from the people telling the government what exactly they are feeling, and if they can adjust some of these things, it will help to make for a more coherent and happy society, and Nigeria and Africa as a whole will be a more hospitable place for people to live. So all right, let's go to the next point. After structure, what else do you have for us?
If you will permit me, because I would just like to mention a few things on welfare that I skipped.
All right.
I think are quite important. So, for welfare, I think I read some publications online, newspaper articles that suggested the use of BBN.
All right.
Of course, we know that BBN might not be sufficient to touch the grassroots, but at least we give some form of accountability to disbursement of funds. Because now it's sometimes outrageous when you see on the news. I'm talking from the perspective of the people now.
All right.
You see on the news that so billion has been shared, has been distributed to the less privileged side, and you're like, which less? We're not saying they are not existent, but we're just saying, let's make it more transparent. Let's make it by that you win the trust of. I relate with the average young Nigerian, typically every day. Many of them are like, if I stay indoors, what's my fate? I'd rather go out, risk COVID-19 and at least get something to eat. So we can work with BBN, we can work with bank branches. Collate. There is a report 2019 from the World Bank, I believe, about Nigeria being, unfortunately, being the poverty capital.
Yes.
Well, I mean, less than $1. I mean, I think about 61% of the population lives below $1 a day.
True.
If we use that kind of threshold to arrive, to divide, okay, using BBN and signing agreement, the CBN for some banks, okay, in the last 6 months, in the last 1 year, with the threshold that you derive from that statistic, okay, less than 100. How many people have income below this range? And then you use that to decide, and you don't even need credit. The right people. And then that is complemented at the local government level. Some people also suggested INEC officials, using INEC officials, or maybe NYC officials and all that, and local government to complement.
Using them to make distributions?
To the grassroots now. Those that are naturally, typically we don't have a bank account, we don't have an ATM card.
All right.
That could complement these things. But the average Nigerian sees it. He sees it unnecessary. To quarantine himself and stay inside, stay when he believes. Some people are capitalized. That's the belief. Some people are capitalized on this opportunity, on this window to extort and all that. So we need to clear it out. So and that's that for welfareism. I would like to go. My next point is innovation.
All right. Okay, let me say something on welfareism before you move forward. So far, just last week, I was having this conversation with Pastor Sunday and a friend, and we found that about, let's say, 45% of Nigerians are the ones that actually have a bank account, and that is factoring people who have 2, 3, or more accounts in Nigeria. So that means there's going to have to be a massive grassroots outreach to be able to get to people who don't even have bank accounts at all, and who don't have an opportunity to even have one because they don't have, they don't trust. It's either they don't trust the bank, or they don't make enough, or there's no bank around them, or they just don't believe it's necessary and stuff like that. So the governments really have to reach out to this at least 55% of the population who are not accounted for in the banking system with the BVN and what have you. I have friends who didn't go for the whole BVN certification thing due to one problem or the other. So their accounts are currently dormant, and they cannot be accessed and things like that. So the government has a huge role to play in that regard. And like you said, the NYSC, I think the government has done a good job of spreading the NYSC folks to even the most remote of areas. So I believe that can act as a blueprint of how they can do an outreach to even people who are not on the grid, or on the major grid, or in the big cities and in the big towns. So go ahead, please.
So my next point will be innovation. I was seeing in Ghana, there was a news in Ghana about some engineer who invented, I think, a Ghanaian-made ventilator.
All right.
And it was until there was a challenge.
That's for the hospitals, right?
Yes, for the hospitals.
All right.
With every challenge comes opportunities. So I think this is the time for us to. I personally know somebody, a colleague of mine, who has been donating. He's been crowdfunding for free hand sanitizer. He's a medical doctor, turned entrepreneur.
All right.
His name is Undubuisi Brian.
All right.
He's a medical entrepreneur. He's been crowdfunding and making hand sanitizers domestically, supplying to hospitals, and he's got the, of course, being a medical doctor, the endorsement of the NMA in Lagos.
All right. What's the NMA?
That's the Nigerian Medical Association.
All right.
Lagos State chapter. They threw their weight behind him, and the last time, if I'm not mistaken, I think so far they generated hand sanitizers worth $1 million, distributed for free to healthcare workers in hospitals.
Right.
So these are initiatives we encourage. Talking about innovation, these are initiatives, and I also believe I would like to also challenge some of our private giants.
Private sector giants. Individuals, right?
Yeah, yes. Corporate giants who are making donations. Thank you for doing that. But I also think that one way we can make use of such donations is by Let them throw out a call for innovations, for papers, for ideas, for inventions. I'm not sure you've seen, there's this invention that was made in, I'm trying to remember, but CC Hub, Co-Creation Hub in Lagos, imported the idea, like, I think with due process, to Lagos. There's this shield, glass shield. I'm not sure you've seen it.
No, I've not.
Yes, it was invented specifically, at the onset of COVID-19.
So what is the purpose? What does it look like?
There is an attached sort of head gear or something.
All right.
And there is a transparent glass, like the windscreen.
Okay.
Something like that.
So it helps to protect you from
many. It's like a glass shield, not like. So
okay. Is it similar to what the doctors use in the hospitals?
Yes, something like that. But I think they typically made it specifically, to curb the spread of COVID-19. So they just worked on a little design and tweaked some things and here and there and all that. So those are innovations that our corporate giants can also encourage.
All right.
Donate some of these funds, into calling for ideas. Like the young man I told you about.
Yeah. Undubisi Brian.
Yeah. So he's distributing what's it called? Hand sanitizers for free.
Yes.
You could replicate that on a larger scale. These are people who don't have much, but they are doing the little they can. I appreciate that the University of Ibadan and Poly Ibadan, Polytechnic Ibadan, are also producing hand sanitizers and some other. I'm just saying that we have to really get innovative at this point. I'm also aware that Innocent Motors. I'm not sure you are.
Yeah, I know him.
In Enugu. Immediately, asked that the FG supports and other authorities that they are ready and willing to produce ventilators, made in Nigerian ventilators. These are initiatives that I believe that will throw away here. Okay, then I also like to talk about innovations. I'm sure you are familiar about Hong Kong.
About?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yeah, sure.
It's so densely populated. I think about close to 8 million a city.
Yes.
And a lot of scientists predicted boom for Hong Kong at the onset of this COVID-19 challenge.
Correct.
Yeah, but they've done pretty well. They do much more than other countries where you don't expect that there will be much casualties because of their population. And one of the reasons why they've done pretty well is because everybody is mandated to wear a nose mask. Like you could be penalized if you go out without wearing a mask. So but the truth is we understand that these medically made masks cannot go around. Anyway, masks are in demand. I mean, the ones that are suited for hospital use are in demand globally. So the rate of use is faster than the rate of production. But we are saying, but there is something the CDC suggested in the USA, and it's been helping curtail the spread. I think most of the figures we have in USA, unfortunately, are considered in New York. When we look at other states, there's no much incidence. Why? Because they've been advising citizens to use homemade masks, but they provide guidelines. We're not just saying that because when you see masks, people are wearing Amatare. People are wearing Amatare as masks. They're wearing homemade material without realizing that some of WHO has told us that aerosols, coronavirus, this particular can be transmitted via aerosols.
True.
And not necessarily droplets alone. I mean, just breathing alone, you could catch it.
Yeah.
So if you are wearing the wrong kind of mask, you pose a greater danger because you feel you are secure, and thereby you keep infecting other people. So what I'm just saying in essence is that also boils down to communication. Our authorities have to get on TV. This is not the time to commercialize production of nose masks. Get on the TV. Teach people how to make typical homemade nose masks. The materials they put, at the right places, so that at least the nose mask is a perfect shield, and see or any potential danger. So and with that, and of course with that we conserve the medically made nose mask for health workers in Nigeria. That's exactly what CDC is doing in the USA. They are reserving the medically produced nose mask for more healthcare workers, and they are advising people because of course they are the danger zone. There's no time to be making handmade and they are advising residents to use handmade nose mask. So we could get on the TV, demonstrate this thing. These things practically cost not so much, but at least we are very, very sure that we will save a large number of lives doing that.
Correct. Innovation is very important, and those are some very brilliant ideas that you've put forth. And please share this with your friends, share this on your wall. Those of you watching us, send it to your friends, and encourage them to also come up with ideas and innovative ideas that can help to solve this problem. One of Pastor Sunday's most innovative books is Hello, I'm Looking for Problems. That's the title of the book. And this issue right now can help to create heroes like you've heard of the likes of Dr. Ndubisi, who is supplying for free hand sanitizers that he made at home. And he's helping to, relieve those in the hospitals who are running short on supply. And a lot of people are making homemade masks and all that stuff that is necessary to bring about protection for people and to even bring about cures and things of that nature. So we must become an innovative people if we're going to be a progressive society. If we're going to become developed, we have to think progressively. We have to be creative. We have to become innovators. We have to be willing to look at problems and run headfirst into it with solutions instead of shying away from it. Now, I understand that normally the conventional wisdom is everybody is shying away from problems, but there are some of them you cannot shy away from. For example, COVID-19, there's no running away from it. So we have to innovate our way out of this problem and come up with new things that we didn't have before. And by the time we're done with this problem, we'll have more innovations, we'll have more businessmen, more entrepreneurs than we had before because people were willing to step up when the need came around. And you also talked about the government, going on TV to teach people how to take care of themselves on the local level and to also encourage people to come forth and help to innovate. I saw somebody with an innovation. He had this mobile, I don't know if you saw it online. He had this mobile washing hand, basin and stuff like that. Oh, he's a Ghanaian. That's interesting. The guy had, this mobile, it was like a dispenser kind of a thing, and it had a bowl in it and stuff like that. And even if I didn't fully buy into the idea, because that tap, as long as people touch it, it'll become a means of infection. So I said, if you're going to be able to use that thing effectively, it has to be the one with the sensor, that you don't have to touch. Once you just put your hand underneath it, it comes out, you wash, so you don't have to touch anything. You just clean yourself and you go along, because by the time 5-10 people use that tap, you can be sure that if somebody is not wiping it down, that will become a means of people contacting the virus. So yeah, it's good that some young people are putting their minds to work. And if a Ghanaian can come up with that, Ghana is a small country, it's almost like a state in Nigeria. We have 200 million people, most of whom are young. So we need to put our minds to work and begin to come up with ideas and innovations that would help not just create employment, but bring about new products that will help the public to be more comfortable. So what else do you have for us apart from innovation?
Okay, yes, I would just like to, I think I've touched on leadership. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me just talk about abattoirs and other public health institutions. The reason why I'm particular about abattoirs is I think some of my principals might be seeing this at the moment. They did a very good job.
So, sorry, I didn't get the point. Do you want to talk about academics or higher institutions?
No, I'm talking about abattoirs now. Abattoirs.
Oh, abattoirs, where they slaughter animals.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So that's the meat processing industry.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
The reason why I am talking about this is because it would look like all the things that you mentioned. What I mentioned about I did my BSc research on the number of abattoirs in Southwest Nigeria.
Okay.
And that opened my eyes to see the people and all that.
Okay.
So far, it's only the Oyo State government that I've seen. I'm not sure, maybe I've not seen quite enough to say that, but so far it's only the United government that I've seen that has made some provision. They actually included some task force officials to be on ground that they, because this, through transmission of money, cash, because usually people, when you've been to the abattoir, I did my project for BSc, you realize that usually there's a lot of blood drenching and wet, messy and all that. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just trying to find water splash and do and all that. So if we don't, I pray that we don't have a corona case around the abattoirs in Nigeria. Because you do have that becomes a very, very high risk area. Mm-hmm. Where you have like hundreds of people catching it per minute. So we have people to ensure that the social distancing protocol is being followed, and that there are adequate production of hand sanitizers, and task force officials are there to ensure that the guidelines provided by the NCDC is duly followed. So that's that about.
All right. So that means you think our health system and our food, I think that's NAFDAC, right? Should pay more attention to the abattoirs so that they don't become hubs of the coronavirus, and it's going to be bloody if that happens, because Nigerians consume meat a lot, and I don't know, can the coronavirus be transmitted through meat?
Well, from what I understand, WHO is the one leading the education of coronavirus. But what I understand from WHO, what they've said is anything that has blood in it, is a potential risk for coronavirus.
All right.
So obviously that tells me that even meat, and that's why I believe so many governments of nations wouldn't release corpses to family members, because those viruses still be viable, at the period of transmission, carrying such corpses from maybe the mortuaries. So if you're following the news, which I believe you've been doing, you realize that governments of nations, even in developed countries, are declining the release of victims.
True.
Those who died from coronavirus.
Yeah, I saw in the news that some people who went for a burial, many of them caught the virus, and some of them were dead. Somebody was commenting. She said, "I tried to stop my dad from going to the burial ceremony of one of his friends, and he didn't listen because this was a long-time friend, and it was an emotional thing, and he went." She said, when over 15 of them or thereabout got the virus, they got back, and as of the time she was tweeting, she said about 5 of them were dead who went for that funeral. So yeah, you're very right, and you're exactly spot on when you say people should take care when going for, when handling the bodies of victims of the coronavirus.
So then, apart from that, maybe when I'm done, when you give me the opportunity, I'd like to touch on the long-term oriented response.
Long-term
what? I believe oriented response.
Okay, a long-term oriented response. Okay, all of these things that you said initially are more short-term, so you want to talk about what they can do in the long term, right?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Go ahead.
If you allow me, I would like to first of all talk about the capacity building of healthcare officials.
All right.
I was having a conversation with another Nigerian, a few days back, and he was mentioning to me that a lot of healthcare officials, brilliant healthcare, geniuses and all that, are complaining that the government is not doing this, corporations are not doing this and all that. Should they be giving $1 billion? How would they fare? How would they respond? Do they have the capacity? And I think this challenge should have schooled us, enough going forward. It's not just enough to say, okay, we are turning out brilliant, medical practitioners. We must also give them the capacity to run healthcare,
institutions.
Institutions, that are viable, that are standardized, that can measure up globally. So because when you look at the USA, for instance, they have, I think, most of the best doctors that you have them. And many of these doctors have access to facilities. They stand on their own. I remember Dr. G. I don't know if it's Dr. G. There's this plastic surgeon I used to watch years ago. You know, in the US, and some of them like that. But because there has been capacity building, if they are giving $200 million, they will sincerely invest it up. You know, some people it's not that maybe they are being greedy. It's just that they sincerely lack capacity to handle such stuff.
That's true.
Exactly. You know, take them to the best of business schools, attach them to mentors, give them short-term projects. These things are what developed countries are doing at the moment. And also, I want us to also realize that things might not exactly return to normal post-COVID-19. I mean, you find some nations already accusing certain nations and all that, who backtrack on certain documentation and all that. So we need to be able to provide solutions to how we can be self-sufficient in a way, in quotes, and not necessarily rely on some goodwill of some other nation. Nobody does anything for free, like naturally. So we need to improve on some of these things. We need to invest in health entrepreneurs. And also, I also realized that there has been a deficit of social welfare officers. I will explain what I mean by social welfare officers.
All right.
Social welfare, these are long-term ideas now that I feel the government can tap into.
Okay.
I'll talk about social welfare officers. As I know them, there are those who follow up on cases. Like when a patient has been discharged, you are in Ukraine. I don't know, is that the same with you?
Yeah, they do it sometimes. They will call you, they will follow you up until you're perfectly fine.
Exactly. But they are not necessarily the medical doctors and
no,
the scientific.
They are nurses. They are nurses, and they work in the medical sphere, but they are not necessarily the doctors themselves. And they get back to the doctors. They give reports based on what you're going through. Yeah, some of them are nurses, some of them are admins, some of them wouldn't even tell you who they are. They will just call in and say, hi, how are you doing? Just checking up on you to make sure that you're fine. And then you give them whatever reports you have, and then they get back to you. If there's an emergency, they send an ambulance over, or they tell you what next to do so that you can, preserve yourself up until the doctor gets there.
Okay. There is this investigative journalist in Nigeria, I'm not sure you know him.
What's his name? I think I've seen him on social media a few times.
Yeah, he's really doing a lot.
Okay.
Fortunately, I met him during my internship at the Cable Foundation.
All right.
I have a picture of him. But I would like to mention the fact that he has been making, because he's an investigative journalist.
All right.
What he does is, he brings whatever it is that is shady to the public and needs public attention with him. He brings them to the public.
Okay.
While he has been reporting on, he reported there was this case of this big man in Nigerian who unfortunately died of COVID-19. But his case was concealed away from authorities. I'm not sure you had that.
No, what's his name? Was he a government official?
No, it wasn't. He was an alleged. I can't remember. I can't pick the name now. But he was an alleged.
But he was a wealthy person. He was well-to-do. Yes,
he had the help of, I think, some government officials and a professor in Lutz. Okay. So he was self-treating, and all that. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Wow.
And Fisai also reported, I think yesterday, of another case in Abuja of some neighbors making distress calls to the NCDC about people they see around showing symptoms who wouldn't go to hospitals. But fortunately, those guys, NCDC came around after Fisai took it up. Because those people were they've been passing calls and all that, but the response they've been getting on the other end of the call, that's from the authorities, has not been encouraging. And this is where the idea of social welfare officers, having more social welfare officers, comes in. It looks to me like these people are overworked. I mean, they say call these numbers, call that number, call this number. Probably you are speaking to a medical doctor, a nurse, or a lab technician or something. So it looks like we are lacking enough personnel, to really track the cases that were this contact tracing we are doing. I mean, just in 3 months, we can't boast that we made 50,000 contractors. There should be more. And the manpower is there. We just need to bring them on board, train them, and bring them on board. So I think we need to, going forward, you should teach us that we need. There should be a department of social workers, recruit, train them, duplicate department across institutions in our academic universities, to see how we can make sure that some graduates are coming around in the ESSEC. Those who are qualified as social work officers, who could respond immediately, who could do the contact tracing, the contact tracing, much more effective. Exactly. So that's that on social work. Then I also like to talk about, there has been this expert news. I'm not sure you had it about using a possible miracle from the blood sample or blood cell.
Oh yeah, I heard about it.
Survivors.
Using the plasma from people's blood.
Yeah, exactly. Antibodies from survivors' blood.
Yes.
I mean, Africa has been blessed with tons of survivors.
Oh yeah.
What are we doing with this blessing?
Well, it takes progressive minds and a lab that works to be able to put all of those things into place.
I know I will acknowledge that it takes a lab that works, but at least we have lots of recoveries here.
And even people who know what to do with it. We also need the expertise.
Exactly. This should be easy. It should be easy. It shouldn't be something very hard. If we can import Chinese experts, then why can't we import, at least for the time being, experts who will help us, and I'm sure we'll find countries who will be willing to cooperate on this. Because Africa has so many survivors. We are not really seeing the impact. I mean, I see the news and sometimes I'm driven to tears. I can't watch. Sometimes I'm afraid to see BBC, to see some of this, because you just see in a country 2,000 people dead in one day.
Yeah.
And you're like, these are human beings with families. But we have, numbers. And so, what are we doing with this? What are we doing with this stuff that we're seeing? Is there any research? And this boils down to the point that I made earlier about corporate giants also investing in research and all that. And encourage people to come out with ideas. This is the time to engage us, not the time to go on strike.
Yeah, it's shocking that our university body is currently on strike when people are supposed to be in the labs looking for solutions, when our medical institutions are supposed to be running at full steam, in fact running over time to come up with ideas and solutions to help solve this problem.
That's true. But I would like to also reiterate that, because I schooled in Nigeria, in a way I have interacted with the typical lecturer in Nigeria. I've been taught by many of them. The truth of the matter is that some of these things they are fighting for are long overdue. So because it appears like the government is making it seem as if, of course, I also know that I'm also using this medium to appeal to our academic authorities to also, to relax on the strike and all that. But I'm also saying to the FG that many of these things they've been fighting for, they've been on it for about 10 years. I mean, equip our labs. I can't start mentioning certain things.
Why not?
No, because there are not things I'm proud of. I mean, our labs are not the best.
Yes, if you don't say them, how will people know what's going on? That's part of your job. You said you're in journalism, so you should bring us some of these truths from behind the scene.
Okay, what I'll just say is, I remember when I was in zoology, when I was pursuing a degree in zoology. A lot of times, despite the fact that you have committed lecturers, I have been fortunate to have been called by brilliant people. But despite all that, they are discouraged. Some of them just feel like relocating. Why? The labs are not functioning like they should. Sometimes the power supply is not there. I mean, you'll be in a research institution and you are hardly having 3 hours, 4 hours power supply in a day. And you have to augment with generators and all that on the university's budget, So some of these things they don't encourage publication. And that's why you see that some of these people go outside the country. They are doing well outside because the facilities and structures are there. So I'm also saying that the FG also has to concern with them on these things. Make agreements that you can pursue, that are realistic. Make them understand that you're not just, don't paint it like, they don't care, they don't, because now we need academic researches, we need papers, we need publications on COVID-19. Every country for itself now. That's actually what's going on. So what are we doing going forward about this? And I also like to mention, another long-term issue I like to mention was very soon. I know by God's grace, this COVID crisis will be behind us.
Amen.
We want to come out stronger than this. So but the thing is, in Nigeria, for instance, I know that we've not been doing well in the area of agriculture. I've been reading the Korean Center for Disease Control because they really did a very brilliant job.
Yeah, South Korea did a very good job in certain regards.
Exactly. Unfortunately, some religious institutions gathered when they were not supposed to gather. And that's the whole issue about it.
Yeah.
So, but they've been doing well. I think they just had about 200 something deaths. I'm not sure. But they have about 91 recurring cases. I mean, those that recovered and came down with the disease again. And one thing one of their lead professors said is that there is a possibility that the virus is being reactivated. Not a possible case of reinfection like we are thinking. What we are thinking is that probably they contacted somebody who has it again, they came back, they came down again with it. This principal from Korea is saying that this scientist from Korea is saying that they have every reason to believe that there is a strong case of reactivation of the virus.
Okay.
Are you there? So for me, it makes a case for, and of course, when you are talking about reactivation, it's the individual's immunity versus the virus now. So it means that those who look like they overpowered the virus initially, and they tested negative, upon release, after a number of days, they came back positive again. So talking about the need for an improved focus on herd immunity. We're talking about herd immunity.
Correct.
We're talking about herd immunity in public health. As I understand it, he's talking about like you are trying to make the population more immune to the disease as a whole. Like it's either through vaccination, through supplements and all that. But at least the idea is just that you are trying to harm, when I say harm,
okay,
the population sufficiently enough against the disease. And one of the ways we can do this is, one thing I will always, even though I have my reservations about former President Obasanjo's administration, but one thing we have to salute the former president is this farming initiative that he did. This farming, are you aware?
The family initiative, which one exactly?
Farming initiative, like you have to have a farm at the backyard of your house.
Oh, farm. All right.
Yes, like garden farm. I don't know if you are aware. If you are.
Oh yeah, I heard about it, but
there's a name.
I didn't really
see
see
it
it.
in the policy.
Okay.
I can't pick the name, but I remember really.
I didn't really see it implemented where I was. Did it happen a lot in Ibadan and Lagos and the like?
But I have been more concentrated in Southwest Nigeria.
Okay.
That initiative takes forward a lot of things to go into domestic. Home farming.
All right.
Farming.
Just small scale farming at least.
Yeah, just for you and your family.
Okay.
You just at least like you see people who having some form of backyard farming and all that.
Okay.
If I remember well, I think it was so serious that even if you had a building plan, then I think you have to make provision for a home garden. I mean, going forward, we should have. This is a way of strengthening the immunity of the population because coronaviruses have been existent for a while. This is just a new strain.
True.
COVID-19 is just. The virus practically reinvented itself. Beats the immunity. And because it's novel, it's new.
Yes, this is just a different strain. You're correct. The COVID-19 has been around in a while, and many people carry the virus in their body, but it's just not at the level of being futile and taking their lives like it is right now, reacting in such a violent way that it's taking over the entire body system.
Exactly. So there has to be a more long-term approach to this thing. Like, what are we doing about farming and all that? What are we doing about? Hello.
Hi, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. What are we doing about nutritional health practices and all that? We need to engage these people in a more long-term oriented. So I think with this.
So I think in the area of, you're talking about self-sufficiency, so people don't have to always rely on the market or rely on big stores for basic supplies that they need. For example, if you have a small farm that you grow food, you would not have to rely on always running to the market, and in cases like this you'll be self-sufficient and you have enough food to eat, share with your family, and you wouldn't have to go out and risk exposure to people who might be potentially infected with the virus. And in case you don't even have money to afford some of these things, you will have them right behind your house to feed your family.
Going forward. I also like to chip in something about when Governor Martin of Oyo State had the fastest recovery, as I know it.
All right.
Just after a week or two, it was back. And although I would say probably shouldn't have mentioned some of these items on the media because they might get scars and they might get abused, by people who are like. But he mentioned that honey.
Okay.
Made honey, and I think black seed and a few other things, carrots and some of those things. Healthy. I'm not sure you saw it.
No, I didn't, but I've seen other reports about how to use natural foods to boost your immune system. And I believe he's a healthy guy. He's young. I believe he works out. So he doesn't have any underlying condition, which is what makes most of these people to lose their lives. Because if your immune system has been compromised by some other illness in one way or the other, once the coronavirus steps in, it just completely shatters the person's system. So I believe that Governor Makinde is somebody who is healthy, and also he's studious, and I think he was able to read through and come up with some of those things that he used as supplements to help himself. And if the public can do that as well, it will be very good.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that and I want to believe that, because if you have been following, you realize that he recovered around the time that the CMD and a few other officials from the UCH recovered from this thing. So I want to believe that maybe they shared some of this information.
That's true.
They also recovered from. So I'm just saying that this tells us what encouraging healthy nutritional practices can do. Home farming, home gardening, and all that. So I think that going forward, we take this serious. And just like you said, if everybody had some form of home gardening in their houses, people wouldn't be so on guard that they get so hungry and bitter. At least, even if you have to make palliatives, some of these countries that we're seeing are making so much palliatives because they don't have as much farmable soil. I mean, you use that word. Like we have it here,
Or
so
fertile
they rely
soil.
on exactly. Like they rely on many processed foods basically. It's not like we have it here. Here you can choose to farm, you can choose to plant around and all that.
Yeah.
So that's why they have to resort to giving so much money. The US government gave trillions of dollars just for the welfare of the citizen, for this COVID-19 crisis. But when we have something like gardens and all that, it's not so burdensome. Even if you have to give palliatives, it will be something that will weigh you and overburden you. Just to complement what's on ground. I think this crisis should school us as a country. We should stop relying on that. We are happy that those friendly countries are extending their hand of friendliness, but we shouldn't rely on that. Every country for itself first. Every country for itself first.
Oh yeah,
Let's
when
see.
President Trump said America first, people didn't really get the message, but suddenly everybody understands that
Yes.
when crisis hit, is everybody for themselves at that time.
Exactly. So like even with some of these initiatives, when we have good agricultural infrastructures in place and policies and all that in place. And meanwhile, Nigeria is one country that has so many policies, but we don't have maintenance structure. So the ones that we have, let's make the best use of them.
Yeah, we have an issue with our values, which is something that Dr. Sunday is very passionate about. Because if there's no foundational value system, following through on policy and following through on whatever good ideas that people might have will be difficult. Because good value system comes from a place of diligence, a place of honesty, a place of altruism, a place of selflessness. But when somebody is selfish, for example, they will always look for their own interest first. And as long as that's the case, you can always count on them to do what is the opposite of the public interest. They will always seek their own interest first, and then will run into issues. Based on innovation, I remember that Innocent wanted to make ventilators and he needed some subsidy from the government, but the government didn't give it to him, I think. So
I'm not sure.
he wasn't
The
able to make
government,
the ventilators the last time I heard. The
no,
government
it wasn't.
didn't step it.
The government is stepping. But I know that there is one Dr. Ogunaya Onu of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure
Yep.
that claims they started making Nigerian made ventilators. But I'm also saying that because of the structure and facilities that it also has and the name, yes. Because another thing, trust is another issue. Another thing to have people make ventilators. But is the brand has the brand been around a while? Trust that they also have a stake on this thing. You read going while. So I'm saying that's why we also need to bring companies like Innocent on board. They have the structures, they have the facilities. Let's bring them on board in making some of this.
Yeah, I believe that some of the people who were giving, who contributed this about 15 billion naira from the private sector and from the corporate world, they might have as well just directed some of those funds to Innocent, because I feel like this would have been an opportunity for them to probably buy stakes in the company and say, we're not just going to give you this thing for free, we're going to make an in-kind contribution that will also serve as an investment to make sure that there is growth in your industry. We can as well profit from it. Because Pastor Sunday has a book on that as well. He said, where there's problem, there's money. Because as long as you're willing to solve the problem, people will be willing to pay for it. So in this time where we need ventilators and we need medical supplies, this would have been an opportunity for a lot of people in the private sector to partner with Innocent and people like him to make all of these ventilators and all of this stuff. And then after the pandemic, you keep making money.
Exactly. That still brings us to structure and long-term thinking. So we must, and people are saying that Nigeria did well in the Ebola crisis. Thank God. I just felt God was just looking around and he felt what country should I have mercy on.
Yeah, it's God's mercy that has been seeing us through. It's not because we've been efficient.
I'm telling you. But I also must acknowledge the efforts of the authorities that they did a good job. But you must also remember that the doctors and health officials were on strike.
Can you imagine that? During such a major pandemic, our doctors and nurses were on strike.
No, yeah, during the Ebola, of course, why would they be on strike? If I am a doctor and I've been, some of them are claiming that they've not been paid for months and all that, the facilities, or maybe there is delay in payment and all that. These are people that shouldn't have to think about what they will eat, how they will live. They are risking their lives for the well-being of others. So if I'm in that condition, naturally, and I want to believe you also react the same way too. Naturally, I would go on strike. But I'm just saying that one of the reasons why the miracle of Ebola happened was because nationally, the medical doctors and health officials were on strike. So a lot of health facilities across the nation, governments, were shut down at that period. And that was why that man, Patrick Sawyer, that man from Liberia,
yes,
he opt for a private healthcare facility, rather than the typical government healthcare. And So basically, and I also forgot to mention this about structure. Our airports too. You know, I'm sure you
Our
can.
entire our entire transport infrastructure
I'm sure you can
needs to
relate.
be
I mean,
upgraded.
I mean when they said they were monitoring the food temperature, I knew most likely. I appreciate the zeal of those people, but I knew most likely there will be a lot of inefficiencies, obviously. Like I mean, the airports that everybody just wants, the official just wants the next passenger and all that. Just wants to get out of there and all that. So we have to ensure that. And look at the issue of some politicians also bypassing protocol. This thing boils down to structure. So basically, that's all I have to say for now.
Fantastic, very very good. This is brilliant. And just to chime in on what you said about structure, Pastor Sunday has a book for that, which is titled "System Building: The Key to Resolving Every Problem and Attaining Every Goal." So what you talked about is something that Pastor Sunday has already figured out, and is now teaching the general public on how to build systems, because systems are what bring about structures, and it helps for a more efficient or a more effective way of solving these problems that we're talking about. So all your ideas have been brilliant, they've been very good, and I really hope that those who are listening will begin to implement some of these things. And please share it with your friends, share it with those who you think can make a difference, especially on the point of innovation. We all can innovate, we all are innovators, we were all created for a purpose, we're all created to solve problems, and as long as we focus on doing that, we will see that we will become innovators. Pastor Sunday has a book on creating the next generation of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. These are the principles that are needed to become an innovator. Now we can see Victor today. He is a social commentator, and he's coming up with ideas of how the government can do things better, because he has figured out that that is his passion. Now that goes for every single person in Nigeria. Anybody who is listening to us now, and everybody who is out there, you have an answer to a problem in that nation. And as we come together as a nation, as we come together as a people, there is no way that we'll be defeated by, be it a virus, or be it poverty, or be it whatever it is that we're facing. You've talked about agriculture, we've talked about the transportation system, the medical system, we've talked about the academic system. All of these places have problems. But there are people who are passionate about these things, and they need to get themselves educated. We also talked about capacity building. Best way to build capacity is by studying, is by reading, is by listening to people who have gone ahead of you, is by making sure that you're capable of handling these problems when they come around. He spoke about how many people can, open a facility right now, a medical facility, a ventilator facility. If we tell someone, for example, that we want to give you $1 million, can you make us hand sanitizers, for example? Not many people will be able to do the business aspect, even if they know the science of creating hand sanitizers. So we need to dedicate ourselves to, building our capacity, so that as individuals, we can become the solution to problems that we face. What do you think about that, Victor?
Can you touch on that again? I didn't get that very well.
I said, what do you think about the fact that every Nigerian needs to begin to take responsibility for one problem or the other, just like you have done in your case? In your case, you've seen that social commentary and providing solutions to cultural issues and societal issues is your niche. Now, what would you say to other people who are just sitting back thinking there's nothing they can do?
First of all, what I will just say is that if you look at because leadership, the greatest form of leadership is leadership by example. When you see, and I think that's one of the things let me personalize it. That's one of the things that looking at following Dr. Sunday for a while, reading his books, following on social media. For me, I see that there's been a consistency. I mean, we want God did through in Ukraine. And with the passion with which he's talking about Nigeria now, you could see that there's, this is somebody who really wants to passion for nation building. So, and for me, we must look away from leaders who could be discouraged when you have leaders who lose, like there's no tomorrow.
Leaders who are corrupt.
Exactly, when not just corrupt, I mean reckless, because they are the ones in the limelight. So in a way there is a transparency. One of the reasons why people in Oyo State, for instance, I can talk about Oyo State. I'm not party member.
You're not a partisan individual, right?
Exactly.
You're Nigerian first.
So I'm an observer. I don't belong to, for now, I don't do partisan politics and all that. So, but I can interact from fellow youths like me. One of the reasons why, in a way, they can run with whatever Makinde says is because, in a way, they've seen that it's a leader who, to some extent, leads by example. At least so far, we will be continuing this way. So whenever they look on to other leaders who don't necessarily lead by example, who say things like we have too many doctors, those who are wanting to travel and go to places. When if you are a passionate Nigerian, when you get that, it shocks your spirit. Like, there's a way it deflates you. And then you are down. But I would like to say to every Nigerian like me out there, look away from those people. Look towards those who are doing things right.
All right.
Because we got only one nation, and that's Nigeria. Let's look, and this is a nation that will live for our children and our country. Let's look away from those who discourage us, onto those who encourage us, and with that we can catch some fire for nation building.
Fantastic. Leadership is something that is very important, and as usual, Pastor Sunday has a book for that. It's called Nigeria and the Leadership Question, and it makes and it calls on everyone to step into a position of leadership and not just look to the big guys. But what you said is important, because there needs to be mentors. There need to be people others who are coming behind can look up to, and like you said, they should look away from those who are doing the wrong thing and look to those who are doing it right, like the governor of Ibadan, who is Governor Makinde, and he's one of the most progressive people in the nation, and he's somebody that is worthy of praise and worthy of commendation, because he's leading with a different style and he's doing things the right way. If we can have 1,000 people like him, 1,000,000 people like him, Nigeria will become an entirely different country. So we must all take responsibility, lead ourselves, lead our families, lead our communities, lead our cities, lead our businesses, or whatever it is that we do, because it takes leaders to make things happen. Not everybody is willing to be a leader, but as long as you're willing to take that responsibility upon yourself, you will discover that you gravitate towards those doing the right thing, and before you know it, you will be on a platform where you'll be able to do things on a grander scale and influence a lot more lives. So we need better leadership in Nigeria, that's for sure, and it starts from the grassroots. It starts from you and I. Did you hear me, Victor?
Yes, that's good.
All right. So am I correct in my assertion?
Yes. It starts from you. It starts from everybody. Everybody has a stake in this. If you don't look down on that woman in the market, because she is not as refined or as polished as some other people. I mean, everybody has a stake. Even if the president, enacts a law, makes a directive, those who will carry it out are those at the grassroots. So everybody has a role to play. The big guys up there, the people at the middle, and those at the grassroots. We must see, this country as our Nigeria. I can't go to Ghana and start fighting. I'm not Ghanaian. I start fighting for societal transformation.
Charity begins at home. Even if you want to fight for the Ghanaians, they will say, but you're Nigerian, you have more problems than we do.
Exactly. So we have to see this as our home. Let's see this. The sense of ownership is not always wrong. When using the right context. This country, let's have the sense of ownership when it comes to Nigeria. And I think moving on with that, we'll be able to behave in the way we should.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for all your ideas, Victor. It was great having you with us today. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed yourself. This is what life is about. Making contributions and bettering humanity. This is what existence is about. We're not supposed to live for trivialities. We're not supposed to live for cars, for houses, for shoes, for clothes, for pleasure. We're supposed to live to better humanity, to better the world. From the very beginning, God told us, He said, be fruitful, multiply, dominate. He said, occupy till I come. So those of you who are looking forward to heaven, it's not time. We've got a lot of work to do right here on earth. We've got a lot of problems to solve. We have a lot of souls to reach. The Bible says that we should do and replicate what we see in heaven, what we see from the Father here on earth. We shouldn't just be religious, but we should make sure that we're people who are practicing kingdom principles and bringing about the truth and the necessary, relief that the world needs. Like Victor has told us today, if you're Nigerian, your only home is Nigeria, and there's no place like home. So we must focus on building our nation. And those of us who are in the diaspora listening to us, Nigeria needs your help. Whatever expertise you've developed in the diaspora, try as much as possible to be able to replicate it so that we can make use of that knowledge in Nigeria, so that we can make use of that knowledge in Africa. It doesn't matter what country you're from. Nigeria is our case study today. But if you're from Cameroon, you're from Togo, you're from Tanzania, you're from South Africa, you're from Tunisia, you're from Morocco, wherever it is, your country needs you. And if you can bring what you've seen in the West to Africa, it will definitely help us to become a civilized and a better society. So this COVID-19 period is a wake-up call for everyone to begin to do things differently from a personal level to a state level to a national level. We can all be better. And COVID-19 is making us to build capacity, is making us to be uncomfortable. And discomfort always tells us that something is wrong that needs to be corrected. So let's use this opportunity to build capacity and to become better people. Do you have any final word for us, Victor, before we go?
Like my final word to viewers is, we all have a role to play in this. We beat this. I know managing we beat this. It's not the end yet. But we beat this in good time. We all have a role to play. And as I would just like to thank some of the viewers some of my instructors are here because I am Amatare.
All right.
I also like to thank Dr. Sunday especially and the team, for having me. I was like overblown when I had. I'll be having this privilege, so thank you so much for the life.
It was fantastic having you with us. We're very happy to have you here. So thank you once again, and thank you to the viewers for coming in. Please share this information with as many people as you can. And we have a lot of dynamic young Nigerians just like Victor. Let them see this video so it can help inspire them to begin to do things differently and to keep pressing on those who have started something to keep going and not be discouraged, because we are the answer. We are the ones who are going to build a better Nigeria. We're the ones who are going to build a better Africa, and we have the tools for them. All of these books of Dr. Sunday that I've spoken about, you can find them on Amazon.com. You can find them on Kindle. In fact, some people can read them for free on Kindle Unlimited. And then you can find them on dsasbooksplanet.com. That is the website where most Nigerians and Africans use, because it's based in Nigeria, and they can get the books to you hard copy within a week or at most a couple of weeks. So please get these books for yourself, read, expand your capacity, develop yourself, be somebody of value, be somebody of virtue, go beyond complaining, go beyond whining about problems, begin to see how you can solve them. The human beings who are solving problems all over the world, from the Bill Gates to the Elon Musk of this world, to the Innocents and the Dangotes, they are human beings like you and I. Don't just talk about their wealth, talk about the fact that they are solving problems. You too can do the same. So thank you for joining us. We'll be here same time next week. Discover yourself, invest in yourself, share the love of God with as many people as you can. And in this period, please stay safe. Keep to the rules of the health officials. Wash your hands. Cover yourself when going out. Try as much as possible to stay indoors. And I believe that we'll come out of this COVID-19 quarantine stronger and better people. And I believe that our continent, our countries, and everything around us will be better for it. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Joshua Amatare, coming to you live from Kyiv. Have a great week, and see you same time next week. God bless you.